A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. ... Is it 4 dots?
Four dots. ... Star Wars.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. Thank you so much
when you whisper
for joining us today. It's our Monday episode, and you know what that means? That means it is Take City. We're going to give our takes on all the Star Wars news, because you already know the Star Wars news. We don't need to report you the Star Wars news. You go to Star Wars Newsnet for that, among other places, of course. But we're here to give you our thoughts on that. And there's a bunch of different stories, so it should be a really good episode. We are so thankful that you are here with us in the Resistance base. Like I said last week, and it's even more so this week, things are starting to warm up out there. Spring is in the air. Optimism, Star Wars celebration. Less than 2 months away now. We are in full planning mode here in TRB. And for those of you out there who are not going to make it to celebration, whether you had plans to and you canceled or you just weren't going from the get-go, stick with us throughout that week, because not only will we be putting out an episode like we always do for you, but we'll also be covering that thing and doing a lot of live videos and that sort of thing to really pull you into the experience with us, because that's what it's all about. And we hope you come along for the ride with us. So thanks for being here with us today and moving forward. James and Lacey with me as always. And speaking of celebration, guys, the first slate of guests have been announced. Some may have been even trickling out as we speak today. But the first trio is definitely going to put a smile on a lot of people's faces. It did for me, because a lot of OG stuff going on here. You have Sheevy Babes himself, Ian McDiarmid, is coming to Star Wars Celebration. The most iconic, I don't know, one of the most iconic Star Wars actors, Anthony Daniels, who's been in every Star Wars movie, is coming to Star Wars Celebration, and he's always a riot whenever he gets a chance to take the stage. So hopefully that occurs. Hopefully it's not just photo ops and stuff. And
he's
Ashley
wear his
Eckstein,
gold jacket.
Right, his
Definitely.
game show jacket. Yes. And Ashley Eckstein, voice of Ahsoka Tano, will be there as well. So we expect more announcements to come, but it's nice to see people within the Star Wars universe, galaxy, content, whatever, confirming that they'll be there. It's making it feel more and more real as these types of things happen. So you guys did like the stuff like that getting you guys more excited about it? Because for me, I still for some reason feel a little detached, as though it's this pretend thing that I'm going to. It doesn't feel real to me yet still.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of one of those things where, like, it feels like we're planning for something that's happening next year or 2 years from now, kind of thing. And I think part of that is because we've been planning it since about 2 years ago,
That's true.
Literally.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's like, it's just so long been that thing that you say, whenever that happens, it's like when you say, like, oh, I've been working here for 5 years, and then you're like, wait a minute, no, it's like closer to 7 now, because I've been saying 5 years for so, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of one of those things. So it's weird that it's right around the corner, but it is becoming more real every time you think, like, well, when do I need to get things delivered, or when do we need to know this for sure? Oh shoot, it's like right around the corner. Exactly. So yeah. I think it's interesting that even though we're still a ways away, we've only had 3 announcements, but I don't know that I don't know where the schedule lines up. So I'll let Lacey talk a little bit about that. But just, I saw the 3 names, and all 3 of them were like, I guess, I don't even think I expected these 3 not to be there. Like, these 3 felt
absolutely.
to me like guarantees. If they said Harrison Ford or something, I would have been like, oh shoot, that's wild.
Oh wow,
you know what I mean? But Daniels, Eckstein, even McDiarmid, like, I don't know, it seems like, I don't know, it seems like they're staples of Star Wars Celebration in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, because first of all, Anthony Daniels is never going to say no to anything Star Wars related. He will say yes till the end of time. So I'm not surprised to see him there. And I know everybody jokingly calls me the Star Wars Celebration Queen, but I would argue that is Ashley Eckstein. Like, she is at every con. She created her universe. Like, she is the Comic-Con queen. So I'm not surprised to see her on this list as well, especially because I'm sure they're going to have like a Her Universe booth there anyway.
Oh yeah.
And she does like
lives there, right?
And big photo shoots and stuff.
Yeah. And she also does a lot of the other Disney events. Like she was at the Star Cruiser. She does the big events in the parks and stuff. So I'm not surprised. I'm sure we'll see her at Star Wars Night at Disneyland because like she loves this stuff. So she lives it and breathes it. McDermott has been to tons of celebrations and he always does a panel where they sit down with him and chat about his experiences, and he gives little like quips here and there, and he's just a really funny guy, actually. He has like this very dry sense of humor. He's really great. So like James said, I'm not surprised these three are coming, but I mean, it's a great start. But I do agree, James, that it is a little late, later than I think they even wanted to announce stuff. I think the past 2 years, people just assume like, oh, they're just holding things. And that's not true. I think because of everything getting thrown off, they have to like redo time frames and whatnot. So they are a little behind on their announcement schedule, and they're trying to get caught up a bit. But I can't wait to see what else they have to announce.
Yeah, it should be pretty crazy when it comes down to how everything shakes out, because I think there's a little bit of trepidation amongst a lot of people about what's going to happen in regards to with there's still the unease going on still with restrictions and mandates and COVID and all that stuff, and like when you think about the last celebration we went to in 2019, things were pretty locked in months and months in advance in terms of fan panels and that sort of stuff, and this is all pretty up against the wire. So it almost, for me, feels like there's a lot of things that they weren't positive about until quite recently. And we're all kind of in this together to make it happen from the fan perspective. And of course, the people running this thing and the talent that are coming in. Like, when James said, I'm not surprised about Anthony Daniels and Ian McDiarmid, I was a little bit, because, they got to fly over from England. And,
right.
there's huge spikes of COVID in England, and they got to make the, I'm sure it's not as easy as how it used to be a few years ago flying over here. And the fact that, maybe this wasn't completely locked in, say, a month ago. And so I am like hearing those names, I would say in a normal celebration year, yes.
That's
but
all
hearing
I'm
that they are coming.
I'm not thinking about the real world. I'm just like, Anthony Daniels. All right, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it makes sense.
but the fact that they are coming to this one makes me feel really confident about the state of things and all that. So really excited to hear more announcements of more people from Star Wars that are going to be there. And I'm not a big photo op autograph person, just because I get a weird anxiety with like celebrities in that way. I'd rather just say like hello. I don't know. I don't like, for me, I this is just me. I feel weird being like, I bought a chance to take a photo with you or something. And it's just, I that stuff, it like gives me anxiety for some reason. I don't know why. I'd rather just like see someone and be like, hello.
I've never been so nervous than walking up to Mark Hamill asking him to sign something. I don't think I've ever been more scared in my life.
John,
to defend what you're saying. Like, I was genuinely like terrified to see like, am I about to get embarrassed right now? Am I about to get shunned?
But I think if I saw Mark Hamill in like a coffee shop or like at a department store where like he was kind of blending in, and he wasn't like, next. Oh, you like Luke, huh? Great.
He would never. He would never.
I don't know, man. I feel like I'm the opposite. I would more likely. I would be less worried walking through the line, because I know it's like part of the thing. But like, if you see him out and about, then it's a little bit like you're infringing on their privacy or their. Well, that's how I
felt, because I was in the airport. I was like, oh my God, he doesn't want to be bothered, but this is my once in a lifetime chance right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, though, I wouldn't ask him about obvious things. Like, if we were in the aisle at the grocery store and I'd be like, so you a Trix guy, or you like a Fruity Pebbles guy? And that's all I would say to him. And then he'd be like, do you know who I am? Be like, I know. Just come on. But anyway, I am excited. It's I hope it like, there's going to be one moment, I don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to like hit me in the face like, wow, this is definitely happening. But so far,
when
it
we're
still
in the
feels
car
like
to
this,
the airport.
Well,
I don't know. It's just right now, it still feels like this thing that is just not real yet.
if
But I'm
I
saying,
had to
like, when we're
guess-
sitting in the car or on the plane.
Maybe.
If I had to guess, like, since we're doing it early, it might be Galaxy's Edge or Disneyland to some degree. You're gonna be like, I feel like I'm in a dream right now. Like,
Yeah.
what's
You guys are
going
gonna
on?
love it.
Yeah.
You've never been. You're gonna love it. It's so great. It's so
I've never been in Disneyland or Galaxy's Edge, so
Neither
it'll be
have I. Well,
a double
Galaxy's
whammy.
Edge.
All right, but we do have a bunch of news to get into. So we'll be obviously in the weeks ahead leading up to Celebration. We're going to talk way more about it, and we'll probably dedicate a nice episode to how to optimize your experience at Celebration, because a lot of people enjoyed what we did in 2019 with that. But for now, it is time for the Resistance Report. James?
It's the Resistance.
As you guys remember, a couple weeks back, there was a big EW cover story revolving around Obi-Wan Kenobi. And when EW got all of that information, they looked at it and they said, wow, we can do 3 really solid stories out of this. Let's make it 5. And
well played.
today we got another one of those articles, which was, Deborah Chow reflects on why they brought Darth Vader into Obi-Wan Kenobi. We can really just open this up and kind of talk a little bit about what was in the article, but it was kind of a refresh of some of the things we'd heard before, but at least from this time, it was Deborah Chow and her perspective of why Vader was important and why he was part of the story. There were some other notable people here and there with a couple quotes, but that was basically the crux of the story. At least that was the headline. So, John, what was your takeaway on this particular EW article?
I would say from the quotes, it sounds at least like Deborah Chow was really given an opportunity to voice her wants and needs in terms of the story they want to tell, which, a director should, of course, but, she, and I'm not trying to disparage her in any way, but, she's not a household name, so to speak. And she's done great work in The Mandalorian and among other things, but the fact that she was so a part of what was going on creatively from the story perspective and saying, like, I wanted to make this a character-driven story, and you got to bring in people who are important to this character's life, that character being Obi-Wan Kenobi, and, number 1, number 2, and number 3 are going to be Anakin. So, if you're going to do a character-driven story, and I don't see any situation where this wouldn't have been that, even if it was a movie and Deborah Chow wasn't a part of it, for me, it's hard to say you're going to do this, this really character-focused story with elements of drama about what this guy's been going through and not include Anakin and Vader at all. It almost sounds silly at this point. And this is off the heels of what we went through last week with the rumors about maybe it was Maul at one point, and then Vader was brought in later. Who knows? I'm having a hard time.
Vader?
Not. Yeah, I'm having a really hard time seeing this without Vader. So, nothing surprised me about what she said in that regard. Even the stuff about seeing Vader walk on set and anything like that. So there was nothing out of these quotes that were kind of like, ooh, that is interesting right there. But it's the reassurance, and I'm really excited to see what she brings to the table with this series, because we saw what she did for The Mandalorian, but this is really her project now. She directed episodes for Jon Favreau and his showrun project. This is her project, and granted, she's working with writers and stuff like that, but soup to nuts, chapter 1 to close the book, this is hers to direct and how she wants to tell this story. And I think that's really, really important. I know I've said this before on past episodes, but the closer we get to the Kenobi series, and now we're less than 2 months away, the fact that we're going to get the same aesthetic and same feel and same rhythm from chapter to chapter is something I'm looking for as a change of pace from what we got with The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. That's not to say I didn't like those, but it was like, ooh, this episode feels a lot different than the one Rick Famuyiwa did, and then Deborah Chow's one, and then we kept talking about like the director's styles and stuff, and now it's just going to be like, nope, this is one neat thing that you can watch seamlessly, and it has the same flow, texture, vibe, shot sequences, you know, all that type of the way directors tell a story. I'm really, really excited about that. And I hope she delivers, because like I keep saying, this, in my opinion, the show is something that they cannot screw up for many reasons. So I'm excited, and I'm more excited to see Ewan McGregor out and about doing the talk shows and stuff, because he's just so engaging, and you want to hear that guy tell stories and stuff. So that's what I'm looking forward to more than this. But you know, I'll tip my hat to EW for stretching this out and putting out all these different articles for what seems to be the same day's sequence of interviews.
That's interesting. You said that they were all done by Deborah Chow, because I have here, it says JJ was supposed to come back and do the last one, close it out.
You should have said Colin Trevorrow.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Lacey, you looked at this article. Was there anything specifically that stuck out? Was it a lot of the same? What were your thoughts?
I think Deborah Chow's amazing, first of all. That's not in the article, I'm just saying that. Second of all, I really enjoyed her talking about Hayden being back and how he's Canadian as well, and the fact that when he was on set, just how Ewan was making jokes about like, hey, I'm still here. What am I, chopped liver? Like, I'm still important, because everybody was just so in awe of Darth Vader, because he's just such an iconic character, not just in Star Wars, but in cinema, that it's hard to kind of look at the character on set and not be just like in awe. Regardless if the GOAT Kenobi is standing right there, you're like, oh, look, but there's Darth Vader, like that kind of thing.
He was probably old hat after a couple days.
Yeah. So I really loved hearing about that, and how she talked about, which I find that this is a common thread throughout narrative throughout these interviews with Hayden, Ewan, and Deborah Chow, is that the consistency of talking about how they've witnessed different generations of fans with this project, and how they've seen people that love the prequels interact with it, and people that are maybe original trilogy people interact with it, and how Ewan especially has kind of spanned, the character of Kenobi has gone across all these generations, obviously, and it's kind of bringing everybody together. So I can't help but hope that that's the case when this show comes out, is that it's going to be a collective, everybody's like hyped about it, because so far that's been the case, and I really want that to continue on as this show comes out. I find that lately with Star Wars, it's like a show comes out and there's always like, oh, this was terrible, or like the first initial thing is to be like, oh, I'm so pumped, and then it comes out, and then there's always people that are just so quick to pull something apart or pick on certain things, whether it be like eggs that Grogu's eating, or certain, you know, Tusken Raider characters, or whatever have you, you know, whatever people are upset about at the moment. I just really hope that people don't go in so pumped about this show that they don't recognize like what an awesome moment this is as a Star Wars fan. Like, yeah, you don't have to 100% be on board, but just the idea that like we're getting more Star Wars. We're getting multiple shows this year, and we're getting shows with characters that we never thought we'd see again, with actors that we never thought we'd see them play these characters again.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's something to be like really grateful about that. But yeah, no, I just really loved her talking about Darth Vader and how everybody on set was so in awe. And I think Ewan said the comment about how like he was on set and everybody got really quiet, and he was like, what's going on? And then he turned around, and then, you know, Darth Vader comes around the corner and everyone's like, oh. So like, I just know that I'm going to have that moment too. I don't know about you guys, but like when I see Darth Vader on screen, it's just going to be such an awesome moment, just like it was in Rogue One. But I feel like because he's up against Ewan, or in in scenes with Ewan, it's going to hit a little harder than him mowing down people in a hallway.
Kind of be curious if they're going to go with the big entrance thing with Vader, because that's like,
I think he's going to get a slow-mo entrance at least.
yeah, like most of his entrances are pretty theatrical
Mm-hmm.
from A New Hope when the door gets blasted open and he walks through and puts his hands on like Superman, or like Rogue One when the door slowly opens and you see a shadow on Mustafar and
Yeah.
The
that
breathing
hallway.
is the most dramatic thing for me. When you hear the breathing before you even see him, I still remember the excitement I felt when that happened. Like just hearing the noise, you're like, no.
Yeah, and they did that the best in The Empire Strikes Back when Luke is like looking for him and you hear Darth Vader and you don't know when he's going to pop out. It's like the boogeyman. It's like Michael Myers.
Oh, it's so good.
A part of me almost wants him to just casually show up. So that's just like, because he's supposed to be here.
Imagine Ewan gets
You know
in an
what I'm saying?
elevator
Like-
and Vader's in there, and they get in, they just look at each other, and they're like,
at the beginning of Empire, he's just standing there, and then he walks up and he goes, "You found something." It's not like, dun dun, this big giant reveal of Darth Vader. I would think it'd be cool if he just walked up and he's like, what's going on here?
I want the big reveal. I guess I'm cheesy. I'm
that's
cheesing
gonna
it.
happen.
I want the big reveal with
Yeah.
the slow-mo entrance that everybody turns like, basically like a 90s teen movie where the girl gets the makeover and comes down the stairs like she's all that. Like that's what I want for Vader, where he has this big
They're gonna do that.
moment.
Yeah.
I mean, in Rogue One,
Freddie Prinze Jr. would be there waiting.
in
Yeah,
Rogue
right at
One
the bottom
too,
of the
they also
stairs.
did like the water draining thing. So it's like
Yes.
we go back there and they show us that same thing, but it's like this time it reveals Hayden Christensen.
With
So
Vinici.
it's like, yeah.
Now I need a
Vinici.
Photoshop of Vader's face on her when she comes down the stairs in the red dress.
When I read this though, there was one takeaway from it that I thought was probably the biggest thing for me, because she says for us it's very similar to Obi-Wan in the sense that he's been that he's between these two trilogies. She's talking about Darth Vader, so he isn't a New Hope Vader quite yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She goes on and she says it's kind of in the middle, so it's still Vader obviously, but it's Vader that isn't quite fully formed as a New Hope. And I was like, she says, she literally says the quote, "You know what I mean?" And I was like, I don't know what you mean, because like in
Imagine
a lot
the
of
interviewer,
ways,
you're like, no, please
in
go
a
into
lot
that.
of ways, I've seen Revenge of the Sith, and he's Vader, like boom, right out of that. So it's like his suit is perfectly that. So
Maybe it's the hesitation at the end of Revenge of the Sith, or oh my god, Revenge.
So
of the
yeah, he's a little bit
Where he's
more
asking
like,
about
and what
Padme.
about Padme? Yeah, and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But I've also seen that they say, this time in between is like Prime Vader, and by the time he's a New Hope, he's a little over. You know what I mean? It's like it's still good Vader and still strong Vader, but he's not quite as like he's like force choke a guy, like do this with his lightsaber and stuff, and I think that's the fans trying to piece together, how it makes sense realistically. But I'm interested to see this because Joby Harold is saying like he's a very powerful Vader, and so it's like, okay, so then how does a very powerful Vader that most times we think of him as his prime is not, is she saying it's not quite a fully formed New Hope Vader? And I'm like, well, that seems contradictory to me, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm just kind of interested what maybe it is like an emotional standpoint. Like he's got a lot of power and he's wielding it like crazy, but he's still like emotionally not handling it or something like that. Maybe he's not as cold or something. I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
It's also the Hayden Christensen factor changes everything.
True.
Because, there's going to be elements of this show where Hayden Christensen is visibly Darth Vader. Helmetless, damaged helmet, in his back to tank or in his meditation chamber. And maybe the feeling is, she keeps saying character driven, and who has impacted Obi-Wan and got him to this place. Maybe they go there a little bit with Vader, sort of how they do in the comics.
I was thinking
because
that,
because they have Hayden. This is the one opportunity to do it, because he's going to come back and play Anakin in Ahsoka. That's been reported. But this is the chance for him to do that Vader stuff in between 3 and 4, where maybe he's still sort of transitioning and getting over his grief of the loss of Padme. Maybe they tap into that a little bit to make it more of a tragedy, so that when we do rewatch the original trilogy, it hits harder with Luke and him.
Right.
So they have that opportunity to do that, because I don't know that they're going to revisit Vader the way like I've wanted them to. Like, give me the Vader focused movie that's going to make $2 billion, and it's
where he's
just
basically going around killing Jedi, and he's cold
him and the
and
Inquisitors,
dark.
just doing the thing, So this is like that moment. So I don't want a lot of Vader in this series because I don't like the overusage of the Golden Goose. I like it being special.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would also be weird if there's a ton of Vader in this, and then you watch like Rogue One and A New Hope, you're like, that guy's hardly in these things. What's going on? But the opportunity they have with Hayden, bringing him back to play Darth Vader, they're going to look for all the different possible ways they can fuse the two so that we understand that that's Anakin, but it's also Vader. And I think that's going to be pretty cool. I just curious to see how they handle it.
Yeah, I'm also a little curious how they handle powering his suit, because it requires 1.21 gigawatts, which moves us to our next story.
Well, lightning bolt, force lightning.
They could do a lightning bolt. That makes sense.
I was thinking of how I could work that in, James. I applaud you. I was sitting here going, how can I work this joke in?
Well, the thing is we're moving on to our next story here, and it's all about Christopher Lloyd, as he has been reportedly cast as a character in a guest star in Mandalorian season 3. So there are a couple people that we know are like kind of confirmed for Mandalorian season 3, and a couple that we've seen on set, and there's leaks, and we're not going to get into all that stuff. But this is a pretty reliable source here with Hollywood Reporter saying that he's involved. So, I mean, there's not a lot to it. He's here. He's involved. He's going to be in the show. We're excited about it. Lacey, I'm gonna throw it at you first. Thoughts on Christopher Lloyd joining the Mandalorian?
First of all, wasn't the Hollywood Reporter the ones that did that Darth Maul story?
Yes.
Who's their source from Lucasfilm that's just dropping all these tidbits? Would they have a long lunch?
Don't forget, the source from Lucasfilm was the one that denied the Maul story. So
that's true.
They were like, hey, about these two things. And he's like, one is correct, one is not.
According to Ray Park, mean our source.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think this is a great choice. I recently watched Nobody in the past, I think it was like 5 months ago. It was in the fall sometime, and it was one of those movies that I had heard was really good. And I was like, let me throw this on. It was so good. It was one of the best movies I've watched in the past 5 years. It was that good. And Christopher Lloyd was very good in it because they played to his strengths and didn't make him do like overly crazy action moments. He had like all these shotguns and stuff. It was just like so well done. I could see him being a very similar character in The Mandalorian, and it would work really well for him. I also think he's really funny, and if he doesn't throw some type of Back to the Future reference or joke in at some point, what are we doing here, guys?
Oh,
I want it.
It could pull you right out.
The shark is what you're doing.
I want it, John.
No.
I want it just so John has to gripe about it on an episode of TRB.
This whole week has been people making Star Wars Back to the Future crossover jokes. Mandalorian holding the lightsaber, and he's like, it's so heavy, and then it cuts to Christopher Lloyd saying, why does everybody keep using that word? Is there something wrong with the Earth's gravitational pull?
Did you see the one someone made of Marty calling Obi-Wan a peeping Tom?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, yes. People are really good. People are really clever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all for the cheesy stuff lately. I really want it if it's well done. If he just kind of throws it in, being like, Mandalorian's like, oh man, I don't know how I'm gonna power this up or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh Jesus!
I love it. I love it so much. And John, I would hear him all the way to his house being like, like from far away.
It's just, just resist the fan service.
No, give it to me.
Mandalorian hasn't been doing that. Like, they haven't been making like strangers with candy references and stuff like that. They're doing a good job at keeping this.
But her character is a little quirky. They are leaning into that.
Sure, but that's why she was cast. Not
Sure.
not like, we'll have this character make a mention of a red stapler or something, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, but what if he's like, a scientist or something, or some type of like droid mechanic, and he's a little wacky?
How about this?
And all this
I'll give you this. He's a taxi driver, and that's it.
Oh, there you go.
No, I hate that.
Why do you hate that?
Because I want him to make a Back to the Future reference.
Taxi's just as good as Back to the Future.
Shenanigans.
He was like Cosmo Kramer before Kramer.
I get
Nah.
you.
You guys
I
ever
get
watched
you.
Taxi?
Yeah.
Nah, dog. Get out of here.
Oh, so don't even then. You haven't watched. You're like that person. I don't like that. Oh, have you tried it? No.
Also, Man
I'm
on the
saying
Moon,
I don't
very
like
good
what
movie.
you're saying. I'm not saying I don't like the movie because I can't comment on the movie. I'm saying I don't
It's a
like
show.
what you're
Show.
telling
Sure,
him.
but-
It's a TV
Whatever.
show.
I am saying I don't like the reference you're saying they should make. I don't agree with it.
He's gonna be a taxi driver. I hate to tell you.
All right.
No,
Well,
he's
John,
not.
what is your thoughts on Christopher Lloyd joining the show for one episode, multiple episodes? What
Well-
would be the one Back to the Future reference you would be okay with?
That is a great question, James. John, what would
I'll
be
say
the
this.
one reference that you'd be okay with?
You'd let it slide.
Probably that he
And why is it
fell off the
1.21?
toilet, hit his head, and had a revelation.
Really? That?
I don't know. I don't
Oh,
care.
okay.
1.21
Um,
gigawatts.
But I'll say this: I just hope his performance in this season is as good as Jamie Lee Curtis's was last season.
Oh my gosh, that's a good point.
because she was fantastic. She was
that
excellent.
that
reported that?
comment
Season
is
2.
your Matt Smith of The Mandalorian, John. It's that one thing you constantly are like, how about that thing?
Huh?
So like Matt Smith with the movies, you kept saying like, oh, what about Matt Smith? Knowing that Matt Smith wasn't in it.
Right.
And now Jamie Lee Curtis is that Matt Smith thing for The Mandalorian for you.
That was
the
Screen
Jamie Lee
Rant
thing was just
that ran
it was
that.
reported once, and people ran with it that she was in it. But I don't know. Who knows what happened? But yeah, if he's in it, if Christopher Lloyd's in it, I think he's going to be playing a human. I think his part's going to be very, very short, and that's pretty much it. Like maybe, like I'm thinking, I'm not saying like the character, but think of screen time and maybe some sort of significance. Think of like Max von Sydow's Lor San Tekka in The Force Awakens.
Mhm.
That type of on-screen time. He's 83, 84. He's not going to be sitting in a makeup chair for 4 hours becoming an alien. They're going to get him in there to do his part, and hopefully it's nothing too meta, because I'm not trying to suck the fun out of the room, but I feel like that level of stuff sometimes is a little jump the sharky to me. Like we don't need the Back to the Future nod just because Christopher Lloyd is a really talented guy and he played Doc Brown, sure, but he's done a lot of other stuff.
So you don't want him
they could
saying, where you're going, Mando. You don't need roads.
If they do, I think that'd be embarrassing. Honestly, I really do think that would be embarrassing.
I would like something to be 1.21 something, like 1.21 parsecs or something.
And then
that would
like
be
Jay and
a
Silent
nice
Bob
little-
Strike Back,
most
he just
people
looks at
probably
the
wouldn't even
camera.
catch it.
Just like,
By the way, that was not Screen Rant. They were the number one article that pulled up, but it was somebody else who reported it. So,
but I love Christopher Lloyd, and if he's in it, cool. But I think it'll be very brief. He'll be a human of some kind, and that'll be that.
he could be.
Maybe he's Grogu's like dialect coach or something.
That is a possibility. He could also be a bounty hunter.
James, killing it on the segues tonight. You're killing it.
No,
You're killing the game.
I don't want to give away too much of that segue because the next story is kind of one of those like weird spoilery things. It's a character that's going to show up or has some sort of role in the show. It is a bounty hunter, so I kind of gave that away. But if you don't want to know, this is a Star Wars Newsnet exclusive thing that we have here. So skip it if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and say, we have from a credible source that a certain character is going to show up in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and that is the bounty hunter for Loam. He will be making an appearance in the show, and we don't really have a lot of specifics about his involvement, but we are assured that he will have a bigger role that's more than just mere seconds, like on the screen in Empire Strikes Back. So, I don't know, like, what are your guys' thoughts? John, specifically, like, this is a Star Wars Newsnet exclusive story, so for Loam in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I think it's cool. I mean, I like these old school bounty hunters. I like that he has sort of like a protocol droid body with like a praying mantis head. Because I like when they talk about making those old Star Wars characters, they were really just like piecing stuff together from the creature shop. And they're like, what if we make him a bug head and the rest of him's like C-3PO?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to see Zero, which is another version of that droid in The Mandalorian season 1. Season 1?
Mm-hmm.
Season 2?
2.
Both.
Oh, technically both, I think. Yeah.
Oh, right. Frog Lady uses it to talk. Right.
Yeah, because
Correct.
because that's where he came back in the second season. He was already dead by that point.
Yeah, I think this is cool. I'm curious if that means we're going to see Zuckuss, because I know those two kind of worked hand in hand, and they were both on the platform in Empire Strikes Back. But there's a lot of opportunities, we may see Boba Fett in this series. We may see Dengar. We may see a bunch of these guys. Bosk, who knows? But I like the fact that it feels very original trilogy to me in the sense that Obi-Wan is now the Millennium Falcon, where it's like, there'll be a substantial reward to the one who finds, and then it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi. And you have the Inquisitors out to get him. They want to kill him. Then you have the bounty hunters that maybe going to capture him. Like, there's gonna be, the stakes are going to be higher because of that, and it's also a good way to get a character in there without being too shoehorned. I'm not saying this guy's going to have some fleshed out arc, Forlom, but it'll be cool to be like, oh, dude, that's Forlom. That's so cool. So yeah. It's a fun thing that they're going to throw in there, I think, and there's never anything wrong with that. So there's not too much else to say about it, but I'm excited to see if we catch him pop on screen.
Lacey, is this a spoiler for you? What are you thinking?
Not really, because he's like a side character. Again, I go back to The Mandalorian season 2. I feel like Ahsoka and Cobb Vanth being announced, those are kind of spoilery to me, more than this. This is more like, hey, this cool Easter egg character is showing up at some point. And it's like, oh, cool, you would have noticed it anyway, but it doesn't ruin the story for you. Whereas I know with Ahsoka, I was like, okay, well, clearly that's a major character that's arriving. But yeah, no, I'm pumped for people that love bounty hunters and original trilogy fans. And I think this is just another example of these series kind of pulling from that toy box, whether it be The Mandalorian or Obi-Wan Kenobi or Cassian Andor, like kind of connecting everything together, which I love to see. So yeah, I'm pumped.
I agree with everything you guys are saying. And I know you know me and listeners know me. I'm not one to really complain about fans complaining. But when I did read this, the first comment I saw was, gonna be weird to see him not with Zuckuss or whatever. And I was like, really? Like, that's the first thing? Just because, like, he was on screen standing next to this character. And I know there's more to it, too. Like, within Legends, I think they were kind of a tag team or something. But, like, chill out. Like, it's like, you hear the news, it's like, people like, I don't know about that, And I was like, oh, come on. It just kind of gets me down. There's not a lot to talk about this. I think it's cool that the character is showing up. And I think it's always going to be one of those things where you snap and point to the screen. But that's a good thing. They should be doing a little bit of that here and there. And I think this particular character showing up in live action, so long after the fact, it's not like they aren't waiting for some of these characters. It's not like they've been trying to do so much live action. It's like now we're like 40 years later. We feel like it's time that we can play with new things, and we can also play with some of the old stuff. And I don't know if I agree with people saying it's too much. Like, it feels like everything has their like fan service moments and stuff. And I'm like, it's 40 years later. We've waited, like, let it happen. It's
let
fine.
people have fun and have a good feeling after everything that's happened. Like, and it continues to happen, by the way.
Like, if you don't
just
like
let
what
people
Disney's
have those
doing,
good moments.
then you've had an era of Star Wars for 30 years. that was a great time or something like that. And now they're switching it up. Let's do some stuff with some of these other characters and do creative things and make callbacks and whatever. And then 30 years from now, a different corporate Amazon will buy Star Wars from Disney or whatever, and they'll reboot everything. That's fine.
And then we'll be in the metaverse in VR living Star Wars.
Yeah, sure. So for now, I'm cool with this Star Wars and what they're doing. So bring on the bounty hunters from the Empire Strikes Back in new Disney Plus series. That's cool for me. Next thing on the list, and this is going to be our last main topic. We have an excerpt from a new novel that's coming up soon from Adam Christopher, and the novel is called The Shadow of the Sith. And if you need a quick callback, this was the book that they announced that is about Luke and Lando post Return of the Jedi, going on missions across the galaxy and trying to figure stuff out. Specifically, it kind of ties into The Rise of Skywalker because it has a lot to do with trying to track down Exegol and Ochi of Bestoon and that whole story that
it's like
Lando
the
even
treadable
says,
conversation that Lando has with Rey about how him and Luke went to go look for things.
Yeah, we tried
that's
it.
basically where the book stemmed from.
Our what does he say? Like our tracks ran dry or cold or something like that. The ship's out here. If you want to go check it out. They were unable to come up with it, but I just got to say, like right off the bat, go read this excerpt. It's nuts, and it kind of like to me, it's like it didn't go a direction I thought it was going to go because there's like there's Rise of Skywalker in there, there's Mandalorian in there. It feels like there's like young Lando, so it's like some of the older like Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi in there. It's just like there's so much to it. And it's even like a little bit of Lord of the Rings. Like I can explain that a little bit later, but I was like, dude, this stuff's cool. Like I'm very excited to this. And then we'll probably talk about it. I mean, it's an excerpt, a twist.
If you don't want spoilers, go ahead.
A spoiler on the excerpt that they're clearly using to market this book, but like Anakin Skywalker at the very end of it shows up like in Force Ghosts and saves Luke Skywalker. Side note, while he's on Exegol in like a Force projection vision thing, it's nuts. So Lacey, I'm starting with you on this one. You were saying this was like one of the better excerpts you've read from a book to sell a book in a while.
Adam, if you're listening to this, well done, sir. Hands down, this was the best excerpt I've ever read. And I'm not even exaggerating when I read it. And I got to the end, I was like, oh my God. Oh, damn. Like, they went for it. Because we've been reading excerpts, I feel like, for years now from like Thrawn books and all these stuff. Especially the Thrawn ones. They can be a little dry. Where you're in like war meetings. Well, I mean, like with the Thrawn ones, like I would get through them and I'd kind of get lost.
Sure, but if you're not following High Republic too, you're like, okay, I can read this, but like, I, it doesn't do much for me.
This, first of all, you had me with Luke Skywalker. I'm going to admit that. People complain that there's too much Luke. I could never have enough Luke. Give me all the Luke Skywalker you want. I'll take it. So automatically I was hooked into what the story is going to be about. And the fact that it connects to the Rise of Skywalker is really cool because I've said several times now that leading into the Rise of Skywalker, there was just so much that wasn't said with Palpatine, with Exegol, with what was going on with Luke and Lando and all such stuff. So I'm excited to get some background detail into like what exactly happened. And I think it will also help my view of the Rise of Skywalker change a little bit and or kind of just fill in some holes for me. But this excerpt was so good. And I, like you said, James, it definitely had some Lord of the Rings vibes, which I really loved. And it was one of those things where I was reading it and I was like, where is this going? Where's this going? And then at the end where he mentions Ben Solo, I was like, no, they're not. And I was like, oh, they aren't. But this is kind of cool. This is even better with Anakin Skywalker. So I can't wait to see what comes next. Like, I'm not even kidding. I literally out loud was like, this is awesome. Like, oh my God. And I know we kind of geeked out before we even started recording this episode of like how we were just like all collectively like, this is really, really cool. So I really can't wait to read this book.
Yeah, before I talk too much about it, I wanted to mention why it kind of connects to Lord of the Rings, or maybe have it, because I'm thinking of the Nazgul or the
yes, yep, the kings.
Yeah, the kings, when he puts on the ring, they're all white, and these apparently have like white lightsabers, and they're ghoulish, and it seems like Luke is like not quite in the normal world. He's in this like other world.
It was the 9 kings of men, right? Isn't that in Lord of the Rings?
That the rings eventually corrupted them and turned them into the ring wraiths.
And then this was 9 of these too.
Was it? Because my vibe on it was that it was the Knights of Ren for a little bit, and then I was like, no, I think
This
they're
is
very clearly
different.
hinting at something different here. But yeah, it definitely felt like them. So I'm gonna throw it to John. Reading this, what were your thoughts? Is this a book you might pick up? Is this selling you?
Yeah, my only thing about this is, and the interesting thing is also the connection to the Mandalorian with the Seeing Stone on Tython.
Very cool.
Is that,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the one Grogu gets sat on with the
that's
butterflies.
He's the Jedi, and Luke's the Jedi he connected with, and that's the reason why Luke shows up at the end of season 2. So
cool.
There's definitely a lot of power and connectivity.
It seems like it's the first time he's using it too.
Yeah. Right.
So maybe that implies he's used it other times after too.
I'd like to think that Luke was actually there on Exegol, but it also could be one of those things where it turns out he's having a vision while sitting on this rock still, and he's seeing the potential future if he were to go down a different path. Or
I feel like it was kind of a Last Jedi preview. Like what he was projecting himself there, but because he was with the stone as well, it's not. Yeah.
So it definitely could be a lot of the things, and I think they chose this and ended it in a certain spot to make us speculate on that. So good job by the editors for the excerpt, and great writing job by Adam too, buddy of ours. So if you are, like Lacey said, if you are listening, Adam, great job. Really happy for you, because I knew you had the Mandalorian book lined up, and then that got shifted around. Now you have this, so this sounds incredible. So really happy for you, man.
The cover's cool too.
Yeah, it's very old school. I like it. I enjoy that a lot. It's so curious though how he's facing these sort of apparitions, and they have lightsabers, and he's using all of his might, and he's not able to get it. Goes kind of through them like the smoke monsters or Dementors in Harry Potter or on Lost, and that's all kind of haunting in a way. But also like thinking about, I was trying to look up that story I remember hearing about with Vader's sort of realization when he got to Exegol or something, and how it maybe gave him trepidation in regards to what he wanted to do with Luke. Exegol had seemingly dashed any twisted hopes Vader had to make those desires a reality, as he now believes that defeating the Emperor is impossible, leaving him no choice but to eventually kill his son. So there's a lot of darkness there, and the fact that Exegol brought Vader to that point, as opposed to trying to overturn the Emperor and have Luke serve by his side, him seeing the darkness at Exegol made him realize he had to like try to destroy his son. And then on the parallel to that, or the exact opposite of that, we see the White Knight Anakin there on Exegol showing up literally in like translucent white robes, and you picture in your mind that with everything else is like midnight blue and dark on Exegol. So that would, like, Anakin in that situation would really stand out.
Hard blue filter on that movie.
On that location, anyway.
Yeah.
But I was very surprised to see that it was Anakin. I thought it was going to be, when I was reading it, I don't know how you guys felt, I thought it was going to be one of those things where Luke sees himself. Kind of like how in the cave he saw himself as Vader.
Interesting. I thought Ben Solo.
I thought he was going to see the white robed version of himself to, again, mirror what he saw in the dark cave on Dagobah. But the fact that it was Anakin and Anakin reached out his hand, it's all very interesting. So I want to find out if this was real, so to speak, and if that's, the ghost of Anakin and he's reuniting with Luke. That's huge. Is it a vision? Like, I'm very curious to find out, but I like that they cut it as how they did and presented it how they did. And I would agree. It's one of the more thought-provoking, engaging, and exciting excerpts I've read out of a Star Wars canon book.
Yeah, if I had to guess what I think this whole thing was, I think it is a vision. And I think it has a lot to do with this, seeing stone on Tython. I think he's given the opportunity to kind of write about what is the lore of that place. You know what I mean? That's something, we're going to allow you to kind of write and touch on and stuff. And he's like, oh, cool. So I could make anything I wanted. It could be a vision. It could be like a reality. Like it's truly real. And he really goes there. But if he dies, then he just comes back in his body or something. You know what I mean? Like they could do whatever they want with this because the Force is crazy. So, but I would imagine it probably is just some sort of vision or something like that, but it has to be connected into the bigger, greater Force. So despite the fact that it is a vision, I think there's a good chance that really is Anakin. Like it still is the entity that is there that is talking to him. But I don't know, but it is kind of tricky. Because we've seen visions before where it wasn't so-and-so. You know what I mean?
Well, it could be that the Seeing Stones connecting him to the person that he needed to see. Like Grogu needed Luke at that point.
Sure.
Maybe he needed to see Anakin. He needed to connect with his father. Yeah, so it's a little
like the mirror in Harry Potter sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I love how we're like, so like Harry Potter, like Lord of the Rings, like all these things, because that's just what we know. Adam, tell us your secrets and we don't have to guess.
Maybe he gets transported to the Hunger Games arena. It's like we're just trying to fit in every franchise.
And then they get into DeLorean and take off.
Did you know the location that the Seeing Stone is at on Tython is called Forcehenge?
Like Stonehenge?
Forcehenge, according to Wikipedia canon.
Interesting.
I wonder where that was stated. Is that databank?
I'm not sure. It says, I could probably find out. Was located at the ancient ruins of the Forcehenge on the planet Tython. It was dome-shaped with ancient runes written around the bottom. If a Force-sensitive being were to meditate at the top of the stone, it would send a beacon out to any other nearby Force-sensitives.
Weird.
So that means Anakin was watching over Luke to make sure he was safe or something.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily apply to this story. I don't know.
But that's what I was saying, is that Grogu needed someone, so he found Luke, and Luke needed someone, so he found Anakin. It shows you who you need to see, not who you
maybe, but he also found Exegol.
It's
that's who he was. That's what he was seeking.
But what he was like. Yeah, it's true.
The Mandalorian Handbook.
Interesting.
Oh, the Mandalorian Handbook.
Hedge.
Henge.
Like Stonehenge.
Oh,
right.
Wait, henge, not hedge, right?
Henge.
Yeah. Okay.
Not ledge, right?
I thought
henge.
This is award-winning podcasting right here, guys.
Maybe
this
I can help
quality.
with this Pam situation.
Pam.
Yeah.
Is it Revenge or Revenge?
Yeah. I am all about the book. I'm very excited about that. We have a lot to do on this episode. There were a couple of the stories that we wanted to talk about, but I'm just going to kind of give you a quick brief overview. It looks like the Fallen Order 2 trailer is expected at Celebration. That information comes from a games journalist. He's a proved scooper, Jeff Grubb, if we want to shout him out. He's pretty confident that the train of promotion and all that stuff around Jedi Fallen Order 2, because I believe, I don't know if this is official or not, but the believed release date was by the end of the year, like fall sort of 2022.
Well, that's the big video game time is Christmas. Yeah.
So then I think the idea here is that the promotional train starts at Celebration, and that's when you can expect the trailer. So that's exciting. And to stay on the whole Fallen Order world, Cal Kestis' lightsaber from the game is now available at Galaxy's Edge, which is pretty cool considering it was a fan-based poll vote that everybody was able to throw in. And I remember when that got announced because it was like in 2020, but it was one of those things like they did it and then they had to figure it out. I don't know, they had to make it and put it into production on a a large base. So I guess, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, but it is now official, as we can see with the actor. Gosh, I can't think of his name right now. I'm blanking.
Cameron Monaghan.
Cameron Monaghan. I kept wanting to say Dominic Monaghan, and I'm like, that's not it.
Also a Star Wars
That's not
guy.
it. I know. And I was like, I don't want to say that.
Isn't that the
because
worst
that's
when your
not
brain's
it.
going,
Yeah.
that is not correct. And your brain's like,
Yes.
nah, dog. It's
Yeah.
this. It's definitely this.
So he's there.
I do that with Will Forte and Will Arnett. I always mix them up.
Oh,
really?
yeah.
Yeah.
But we got a picture of him holding the lightsaber that you can buy right in front of the Millennium Falcon.
He did the workshop build too.
Yep, at Galaxy's Edge. Very cool. So go and check that out, or go to do Galaxy's Edge and buy one. It can be
I'll say
yours.
this. He was one person Lacey and I saw at the Rise of Skywalker premiere who was just like in the mix with like all the regular people like us. And
He was
like
taking
doing
pictures with Chewie. Yeah.
doing the Chewy photos, eating the McDonald's Happy Meals. Like he was just doing all the regular
Having
stuff.
the
And it was
greatest
just like,
time. Yeah.
I can't wait
and
to
I
see
wanted
that cameo in Kenobi. I mean, what? Sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
hey, live. I mean, it seems
I
like
hope
they're
so.
setting
I
the
want it
table.
for him.
You know, he looks like the character. Like shockingly, he looks a lot like the character, almost like to a T. It's ridiculous. So why not bring the guy in to play the live action version of him? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
John, does everybody are they picking up on the fact that you know?
I don't know.
it was
That's all right.
modeled
That's
after
okay.
him? All right.
I've noticed that a lot of times when I'm joking, people in the comments don't know that I'm joking.
All right. Well,
That's
that
okay.
is it for Resistance Report this week. Lacey, I'm going to hand it over to you. We have another section to get to, and then I think we're doing even something else at the end. So let's get to it. What's up next?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Sometimes people post that episode about like, does anybody have any tattoos? And it makes me laugh still to this day when that happened. That's a throwback for those people I know. All right. So guys, it is time for our Patreon pod race. So this is the part of the show that we welcome our generals and spice runners to be a part of the show. We ask them a question, they give us an answer, we talk about it a little bit. But before then, I just want to say that we have this thing called a Patreon, and it's this way that you can support us outside of just liking this video, commenting, subscribing, following us on Twitter at RBATSWNN or on Instagram at The Resistance Broadcast. If you want to do more, you want to contribute to what we're doing here, you want to support us outside of just watching and sharing and all this other normal stuff that people do, you can get exclusive content, including weekly episodes, Discord server access, live streams, and much more, commentary on all the movies, if you head over to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. Starting at $2 a month, that's it. $2, you're saying, I want to be a part of the Resistance. I'm going to support you guys and what you're doing here. And you are hooking us up to do really cool stuff for the rest of this year. We are planning like crazy for Star Wars Celebration to make you guys feel like you're there, even if you're not. We're planning on covering all the new shows that are coming out, probably going to other events. John's showing his notes. We are just trying our best to make this the best community possible. And a big part of that is because of you guys. We want to do the best for you guys. You encourage us, you support us, you cheer us on, and you're just awesome people. So it kind of gives us the energy to keep going and wanting to do more. So before I get into the pod race this week, I want to say thank you to our generals. So thank you to Carmelo, Jeremy Myers, John Reese, Jetta Rosewater, Paul Olson, Oliver Lewis, Frank Grande, Darth Hurricane, John Charlton, Nick Kratz, Christian Morales, Brian Smith, Matt Chitty, Danny, Mike Ramori, Matt Heath, Double C Chris, Chris White, Brendan McLaughlin. Sorry, Brendan. Brendan's new. Brendan's new, so I get one mistake. That's my one mulligan, I guess. Also, happy birthday, Jetta Rosewater. Hope you had a great day. And Val Trichkoff, thank you guys so much, generals. And to our Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gellner, Ryan Wara, Dave Hornack, Micah Harrison, Thomas Hennessy, and Andrew Staley. Thank you guys so much for keeping it spicy. We're really excited to see a lot of you at Celebration, including our Spice Runners that get a couple extra perks at the show. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. Patreon.com/resistance broadcast. So this week we have one of our Spice Runners, Andrew. What up, Andrew? He's one of our OGs here in the Patreon community.
Oh, yeah.
He's been around for a long time. We really love him. We had beers with him at the last celebration. We're planning on having beers with him this time as well.
Yes.
So we asked him if you could will a new Star Wars project announcement at Star Wars Celebration, if you could manifest it, I added that into existence, what would be your dream project announcement and how would you envision it being revealed? So Andrew, take it away.
I've got a ticket to the hottest panel at Star Wars Celebration. It's the Disney Plus preview for the upcoming season and beyond. Suddenly the lights go out in the room and everybody's like, what's going on? Is this supposed to happen? Is it a mistake? You hear the sound of the Millennium Falcon breaking down. Then suddenly somebody goes, is there anybody that can help us with this? From the back of the room, I can. It's Daisy Ridley in Rey's outfit from The Rise of Skywalker. She comes up on stage and they happily announce a brand new Rey series that'll feature rebuilding the Jedi and what's happening after The Rise of Skywalker. It also protects the Skywalker saga and puts it as a series on Disney Plus. And we get to see that in action finally. So thanks, guys. I'll see you in Anaheim in May, and may the Force be with you.
Awesome, Andrew. Love the lightsaber. We're twins. I just got mine. It's amazing. John, what did you think?
I liked his opening. I'm the hottest ticket in town to the biggest panel at Star Wars Celebration. A good sales pitch for sure. I had a feeling you were going to go with Rey. I thought we were going to do the Solo or Rey, but I know how much you like Rey. And I've been jonesing for more Rey too ever since like Daisy Ridley's here, or like resurfaced recently. I'm like, Rey's got to come back. But he points out, he's like, it's going to be a series. But he started with like the Falcon and he's like, the Falcon's not working. I'm like, oh, he's doing a solo. It's going to be a solo series. And then he's like, Rey's like, I'll come fix it for you. So the fact that he picked that sounded like more like Dobby than anything. But I think my Daisy
you always
kind of
do
like a
Dobby. You're
Yeah.
always like that. We've talked about how your Dobby and Rey are very, very similar.
Yeah. Oh,
Dobby Skywalker.
Yeah. Master Leia gave me a sock. Rey is free.
When you give them a last name, they're free.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, but I like the idea of that series. I'm still hoping they continue it with movies because I feel like they still need that sort of big juggernaut trilogy thing, and I think that still connects loosely to the Skywalkers, even though the Skywalkers are done with their story. But I absolutely love this. So I liked your pitch. I thought you did a great job, and you know, hearing your pod race. You know, it's funny, I was saying, like, Celebration doesn't feel real to me, but hearing you specifically, Andrew, talk about, I'll see you guys in Anaheim, brings me back to Chicago, when you were one of the last people we saw before we left, and we gave you a hug, and we kind of took off from there. Hearing you is making it feel more real to me, so thanks for that, buddy. I'll get my act together from, like, a personal side of things to get my stuff in order to get ready to go. But great job on the pod race. Thanks for all your support, and I can't wait to hang out, man.
James?
Yeah, not a lot to add. John's totally right. Excited to see you and get into the celebration thing. When I was watching the pod race, I had a little bit of that like Arrested Development, like pulled the bag out and it said Andrew's pitch for surprise Lucasfilm project, and I look in the bag and then I go, I don't know what I expected. Like it was like exactly what I should have.
Banana.
It totally should have been this. Yes.
Oh no, it's the dead dove. That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a bird or something like that. It says dead bird.
It says dead bird on the bag. Yeah.
I don't know what I expected.
That's right.
So, yeah, great job with delivery on the pod race and everything. Yeah, as John said, excited to see you in Anaheim. It's going to be nuts, and bring that lightsaber if you can. That'd be pretty cool.
I am so hyped to see how many people bring Rey lightsabers to Celebration. The Hasbro one, you can remove the blade, so I'm tempted to bring it with me, but then it's like, how do I carry it around all day?
I was kind of tempted to bring this guy. Mine, but I don't want to bring the blade because that would be a hassle. But I was like, I don't know, maybe when I'm there, like somebody could give me a blade to borrow so that like if you guys do it, I don't know if you're gonna do it, but if we all did it, we would have our custom lightsabers there or something.
I bet on Star Wars night they're gonna do one big lightsaber photo. You gotta have a lightsaber with you.
But yeah, but I'm saying like I don't want to take the blade with me, so I don't know who I would borrow it from that would work.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of tricky. We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Andrew, like I said, you did an amazing job. You and I are buddies when it comes to Rey. Like, we just are obsessed with Rey. We love Rey. We want to see more of Rey all the time. She's just so great. I know that you've told me how like you connect with her story and how that character has gone through the sequel trilogy, which is really nice. Also, you have a beautiful cat named Rey, which is really cute. I love your lightsaber. Can't wait to see it in person. I hope you bring it to Anaheim. I can't wait to see you. I think I would love your project to come true. Fingers crossed that we get some new announcements. That's all I'm really hoping for. But yeah, good job. And now we're going to head to John to hear from other members of the Resistance. John?
All right, time for Ask the Resistance. Let's get to some questions over here.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
All right, so we have a few. So, longer than usual episode today. We could have ended it right there. We could have done it, but we're not going to. We're not going to do that. So here we go. Okay. We have a question here from nerdy_Seb11542 at Sebast81300.
Way to get your handle, nerdy_Seb11542.
I don't know who you are. I don't know where you came from, but thank you for the question. We'll just call you Nerdy. So Nerdy asked, is there a certain aspect of Star Wars you'd like to see more of? For example, for me, it's more of the scientific side. So Lacey, what do you think about this?
Is there a certain aspect of Star Wars I'd like to see more of? Great question. Romance. I'd like to see more romance in Star Wars. I think that the sequel trilogy didn't really have those moments, that thread of romance that makes every kind of action adventure movie really great. From Indiana Jones to whatever, there's always like this like element of romance that everybody likes. I think that recently probably the best one we've seen on screen was Han and Kira is the best recent done romance. But even then it didn't end well. So I'd love to see a romance in Star Wars that had somewhat of a happy ending and someone didn't die. That's what I want more of.
I think they all kind of end like that, don't they?
Just one. Just give me one.
Like
just one.
Han and Leia, Padme Anakin.
Han and Kira.
Obi-Wan and Satine.
Kanan and Hera. Just give me one, Lucasfilm. Please.
All right. All right. Next we have Alex Zukas at Zubaka. What's up, buddy? Assuming the Nile get dealt with in the High Republic series, could we see them come back as a threat after the Rise of Skywalker? James, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with no. But the reason being, because I think that the Nile has a lot to do with the Republic focusing too much on the core planets, and kind of leaving that wild, wild west. And again, like when the Empire came around, like they start messing around in the outsides and stuff, but we didn't see any sort of resurgence of the Nile then. And I think even further down the line, if people wanted to say they have the same problem as the Nile did, like a core planet kind of issue, it's just going to be its own thing. I don't think like 300, 400 years that somebody's going to like resurrect the idea of the Nile, even though they were a threat and theoretically crushed the Jedi. I just think if we are ever going to get the story where Rey builds the Jedi back up to what they are, and somebody says we need to take this down, that they would resurrect the name of the Nile. I mean, that would have been so long ago at that point, and almost no sort of family connection to that at all. So I don't know. I think it'd be kind of weird. So I'm gonna guess no, but hey, maybe always possible.
All right. A big denial by James on that theory.
How long did it take you to come up with that?
3 seconds. RBM at RB RAYM.
So close.
Guys, we got to work on some handles here.
So
we got to work on
close.
this.
Yeah, if you need
All right,
Mark Hamill just got
Mark
his
Hamill.
handle.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. I actually just registered Hamill himself, so now I took that account.
Imagine, I'm sure they probably were like, no one could have this.
All right, so RBM says, Rebels showed that Force users can be animals and creatures. Will we see any Force-using animals or creatures in Ahsoka?
I like that question.
I think so. I really feel like they have decided, just by what's being reported with casting and rumors and the teaser in Ahsoka's episode of The Mandalorian, that really this whole Ahsoka thing is going to be a live-action successor or sequel to Rebels. And I think with that is going to come the aesthetic of Rebels and the things that came with it. So I think we are going to see those types of mystical creatures and stuff that are in tune with the Force and can communicate using the Force and that sort of stuff. So how far they take it, I'm not sure. But being that it's Dave Filoni and he's the one who sort of created that aspect of the natural Force and how sentient but non-sentient creatures can flow through the Force, I think it's almost a guarantee that that's going to happen. So I'm excited to see it and see what they do with that there. There was even the tease of the condors or whatever it was in the Obi-Wan Kenobi
Yep, they fly out
teaser,
of the...
where they show the
roof.
green owls or whatever flying or something that looked like it anyway, flying on screen. So I'm curious what they do with the Ahsoka series, but I think it's going to be almost a guarantee because I really do feel like if they had plans for an animated Rebels sequel, they have fully, at least for now, it appears that they have fully shifted that to continue that story in live action, which is very interesting. So I say big yes. All right, so that takes us to the end of the show. We want to thank everybody for listening and watching and being a part of TRB. If you are new to the show, in addition to what Lacey went over before, just make sure you spread the word, because you are the biggest reason for our growth, especially on things like Spotify. We've seen a lot of growth over there, and you rating the show on Spotify, which I think right now, knock on wood, we're one of, if not the top rated podcast on Spotify. And that's thanks to everyone out there for taking the time to literally go there to our page on Spotify and rating us, hopefully 5 stars. And when you do that, I think we show up more in searches and more people find us. Because it's crazy. A lot of people don't know about Star Wars podcasts, and a lot of people aren't even into podcasts. So we always need your help. So anytime you can let a friend know, even if you're going to Celebration or if you're out somewhere and you know someone who likes Star Wars, just say, hey, check out the Resistance broadcast. You can find them right on your phone right here. Bing. 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Quicker draw than Cobb Vanth. But spread the word. We really appreciate it. Make sure you're also going to StarWarsNewsNet.com every day for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing at StarWarsNewsNet.com. And we took a week off from Just Like the Movies, but we're going to be back tomorrow with our episode on The Godfather. And it's probably going to be pretty long, but it should be a really good one. So check us out on your favorite audio podcast app. James.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks, and also a little bit of an experiment that we're doing. We're going to start doing a couple shorts, YouTube shorts. I don't know where they also might show up as far as like Instagram or something like that, but look for those as also like kind of regular videos if we end up doing more of them. But they're just like a minute long, and we'll take a question that we got maybe from like one of our patrons, like a Will of the Force question that we didn't end up using on the show. They submit them, so we'll answer the questions and do it in one way or another. And so look for those and get a little bonus little thing extra each week from us in a one way or another. Keep an eye out.
Extra minutes.
Extra minute, yeah.
Lacey.
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin. And I am now a club captain on Patreon. So I'll be hosting a workshop for people if they're interested.
Wow.
More details coming soon.
Why'd you do that voice?
Because it's kind of weird to promote myself like that. So I feel awkward.
But what voice is that? Is that Kristen
I don't know.
Wiig?
It's me feeling awkward. Now you're pointing it out. My hand stuff started sweating. Thank you so much, guys. Stay tuned for more details.
All right. Thank you to everybody. On Thursday, the gloves are coming off because I'm going to beat the snot out of James in Who Are You?
I'm
Our
not
quote guessing game.
playing, but I'm
So-
asking.
No, we'll see. James, do you have anything you want to say about that?
R.I.P. John Hoey.
Oh. Whew. I'll come back as a Force Ghost and slap you upside the head.
Oh, remember when everybody wanted that to be the Rise of Skywalker? Like, hey, Mark Hamill, Luke needs to come back and haunt
Yeah.
Kylo. He's
I
going to
actually
be like a
that.
scary person bugging him all the time, and it's going to drive him crazy. And I was like, I don't think so, guys. That sounds weird.
Sounds very
Yeah.
like Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is happening. So we're going to play our quote guessing game Thursday. So get your rewatches on so you can play along and sure enough, do better than we do. But we're going to have a good time. But until then, enjoy your week. And we'll see you on Thursday with another episode right here on the Resistance Broadcast. See you around, kids.
Bye.